There is some items where, I wish I would rather go this way, but really, municipal government's pretty limited on the decisions that we can make when we look into it. I remember a former counselor saying that, 90% of it's already decided, and of that 10%, maybe 1 or 2%, we're going to have a big say on. You got provincial legislation. We're a creature of the province. We need to follow the laws, and we need to keep our eyes on when it comes to planning matters. There's the tribunal and stuff like that. So we may not want to make the decision that we have to make, but when we take all those different policies and stuff into play here, my view is that you have to take all that information in and then go with the answer that comes out the bottom.
Welcome to the Cross Border Interviews, the online show where we dive into the insights of municipal political leaders from across Canada. Now, our mission is quite simple on this show. It is to shine a light on the dedicated individuals who day in and day out work around the council table to shape the communities that we call home. And joining us for today's episode is Ingersoll Mayor Brian Petrie. Located in the heartland of Ontario's southwest in beautiful Oxford County, the town of Ingersoll offers its visitors a unique mixture of leisure and recreational activities set against a backdrop of history and nature. From a small farming community on the banks of the historic Thames River to a warm and vibrant town of over 12,000 people, Ingersoll is a community rich in history and culture. From cultural venues such as museums, theaters, and art galleries to outdoor adventures such as hiking, cycling, fishing, and snowmobiling, you'll find what you are looking for in Ingersoll. Located within easy driving distance of London and Woodstock, Ingersoll is the perfect destination for both day trippers and vacationers alike. So come for the day, come for the night, or come for the week and discover what Ingersoll has to offer. Across Canada, our cities, towns, villages, and rural communities are alive with stories waiting to be told. Stories of innovation and economic development, resilience in the face of the housing challenges, and the financial hurdles municipalities overcome every day. At the Cross Border Network, we bring these stories to life. From coast to coast to coast, we're connecting Canadians to the issues shaping our communities and showcasing the people working tirelessly to make them thrive. With your support, we can expand our reach, amplify more voices, and shine a light on the challenges and triumphs of municipal life. For as little as $3.99 a month, you can help us grow and continue sharing the stories that matter most. Join us today and be part of this important mission. Together, we can tell more stories, build stronger communities, and make a real difference. Support the Cross Border Network now. Visit www.crossborderinterviews.ca today. Mayor, thank you so much for doing this. Greatly appreciated. I want to start by getting to know the man behind the persona a little bit, if you don't mind. And I've got to ask the simple question that I've started all my interviews off, so you're no exception.
Yeah.
Where did your sense of duty to serve the town of Ingersoll come from?
Well, I got to say that I grew up in a family that volunteered, and it was certainly political. My uncle was a previous MPP, and so there was my mother had a family of eight, so there was a lot of political talk around the table at Christmas dinners, and yeah, so we my parents always voted. So in the 2010 election, they have the all candidates meeting, so I decided to join my mother there with that for the evening, and I left there going, well, I don't know who I'm going to vote for after that. So maybe I'll attend a council meeting. And attended that first council meeting. And, it was during what they like to call silly season before the election. And so it was akin to more live theater than maybe uh, a huge business meeting. But uh, at that meeting, what I really got was a sense of what it takes, of all the background of all the items it takes to run a municipality. And that intrigued me a lot. And that's really what got me hooked, was all the different aspects of municipal government. I got interested in, okay, what's this person doing? What's that person doing? And so I have never missed a council meeting since. Uh, I shouldn't say that. I should probably check myself on that one. But During that 4 years, I went to every council meeting, kind of did a council apprenticeship, and I just got hooked on, like I said, on the really the all the mechanisms and all the things that takes the policy wise to keep even a small municipality running. It's pretty intriguing.
Why municipal? Because by your just opening statement there, with someone who had an experience with a family member as an MPP, wouldn't you have wanted to go provincially, or was there a reason municipally was that forefront for you?
Yeah, so anybody knows me knows I'm opinionated, and I'll love to give my opinion, and I'm not shy on that one. And like I said, there's just all these different aspects. It's local. It was something that was attainable. I just could see myself doing it. Uh, Party politics are not my thing. You do have to follow the party and stuff like that, which there's no problem with. We need that for some some continuity and stuff like that. But really, it was just about uh, diving into those different subjects that make municipal life run and daily life run locally, and that's really what was interesting more than the provincial items. Yeah.
Has it been what you expected?
It's been more. It's been more.
How so?
Uh, uh, I love learning, and I'll tell you what, there's not a day that goes by that I'm not humbled by something I don't know. And I'm not afraid to say that. Like I said, now serving on county council, it's a different jurisdiction with different, a whole nother plethora of issues that are being addressed, and everyone has their nuances, and it just gives you so much opportunity to go down a rabbit hole this way and that way and learn something new every day, and that's what keeps me interested. Yeah.
So, how do you make the tough decisions at the end of the day? Because I can imagine on your time on council as mayor, you've had to make some pretty tough choices around that council table. And you've probably come to the realization that not 100% of the people of your community will always be in favor of that decision that is made. So, how do you make the best decision knowing that you're going to upset some people at the end of the day?
Yeah, I was lucky to have some really good advice when I got going. Our past deputy mayor Fred Freeman was a great mentor of mine, and others on council who sat me down very early and said, "Hey, there's some things you can play politics with, and others you don't do it. If you're going to do that, then you probably shouldn't be here." And I took that to heart, and I agree with it 100%. Is that our job here is to run the municipality. It's not to get elected again. And I've always made the decisions, um, those tough decisions based off, I'm going to do my research. I'm going to come to my opinion. And at the end of the day, if that's not something the electors agree with, then so be it. Our time is always limited in this position. There's only so many people. You're going to make those decisions, but at the end of the day, I want to be able to go to this role and say, "Hey, I can stand behind every decision I made for the reasons I made it." It may not have been right at the time. We don't always have all the information, but you try to make the best decision, and then I can sleep at night. And I always want to be able to justify that to my residents of why I made that decision.
So the begs the question though, because internally we all have a moral compass that we stand by. We all have a guiding principle of what we believe is right and wrong. But you were there to be you're elected to represent the community. So who wins in that internal battle? The community's voices or Brian's voice?
We usually neither, to tell you the truth.
Love
I'll,
the
I'll be honest.
answer.
There is some items where I wish I would rather go this way, but really, municipal government's pretty limited on the decisions that we can make when we look into it. I remember a former counselor saying that 90% of it's already decided, and of that 10%, maybe 1 or 2%, we're going to have a big say on. You got provincial legislation. We're a creature of the province. We need to follow the laws, and we need to keep our eyes on when it comes to planning matters. There's the tribunal and stuff like that. So we may not want to make the decision that we have to make, but when we take all those different policies and stuff into play here, we my view is that you have to take all that information in and then go with the answer that comes out the bottom, a sort of a funnel system, and then put the human touch on it as well. Um, you have to have empathy in this job. You have to have consideration of what that's going to do for people. Sometimes the best answer is just not palatable and not affordable. And so you have to take that into consideration. So it's usually not. I try to leave my own views out of it and see where the evidence takes me and the policy because that's what our job is to follow. We can't make stuff up on the fly, and I think some people think that, but we can't.
You used a key word there that I want to pick up on, and that's empathy. Now, empathy is a
Yeah,
key thing in this job that you have as mayor of your community because you're the leader of your council, but you're also the voice of your community. And that community and the decisions you make around that council table can be challenging and they can be harmful to people. And I say that respectfully because you're not the only mayor in this country. There's more mayors, there's more
absolutely.
reeves, there's wardens who are making the exact same decisions. How do you balance empathy with the decisions? Because you can't just say we're not going to raise taxes, we're not going to build growth, because you're going to have to do that, and it has to be done on someone's back, and that's the people who are living there right now. And some people are struggling, and you have to be empathetic to them, but you also have to be empathetic to the future of your community as well.
Well, absolutely. And that's to me that comes down to being prepared and taking the job seriously and being and trying to be competent at it. I can tell you day one I sat in that chamber and I said when I looked at that when I went to my first council meeting there in 2010, I said, "Do you want to, I could see myself doing the job of mayor one day, but I'm completely unqualified." I served two council terms as a councilor, and then I felt that I had enough experience to be able to step up and do the role what I would consider competently. And again, I learned something new every day. I think what we have to look at is that, you always get the email saying, "No, I elected you for this." And,
I pay
we
your
have to look
tax,
at,
I
yeah,
pay your salary.
you have to, yeah. And those ones never get any traction with me because uh, we're board of directors of a corporation. And really, the more expensive decision today may be the most empathetic decision going forward. Over the long term, sustainability, is like you said, 0% tax increases. They may help this year, they may not help next year. We have people who are suffering homelessness. Do we save every ratepayer 2% this year, or do we add to it? Those are always questions that come up, and those are the hardest ones about. And so try to look at the broader term, step back and go, okay, what's the long term output of this decision, and is it in line with what we want? I'll be honest, Ingersoll 20 years ago, after the end of beginning of 2000, was at the end of a 10-year cycle of 0% tax increases. And I remember being in the library last year reading about the newspaper clippings and about everybody who was running again in that 2000 election. That was their biggest highlight of their career, was that they were able to give 0% tax increases for over a decade. Unfortunately, that came home to roost. We had no reserve left. All of our debt was super high, and that led to some hard decisions being made by a lot of councils that went to 14 and 15. So was that the most empathetic? Probably not. But those decisions that were made to the 14 and to right the ship were they were empathetic? Perhaps because they were putting us in a better situation that we are now benefiting from. So it's balancing all those out and trying to make sure that what is the overall goal that we're trying to achieve. Some decisions are going to overly affect one group of people and under affect other. That's always the case. And so I hate to say it, the best, my opinion, the best empathetic situation is to step back and just try to do the right thing based on the overall situation.
You said that sometimes you don't do the right thing, and you only can do the right thing up to the point where you have all the information you've gathered, whether that be from administration, from the general public, from the province, you name it. You have many different faucets that are coming into you, and you're basically drinking from a fire hose. How do you sort through that information? Because you are the one who makes that decision. You're one member around that council who
Yeah.
has to make that decision. So how do you drink from that proverbial fire hose and make sure you're making that right decision?
Well, my personal thing is to just get obsessed about something and I data mine like crazy. I am a proud person with ADHD and on the autism spectrum, and so I get to nerd out. And my favorite place to be is in my office, just reaming through as much data as possible to try to go down every rabbit hole to make sure that I'm aware of what's and try to form an opinion based off that.
How
Um,
often do you nerd out with Marcus Ride? Because I feel like you two would just be like two peas
Oh
in a
yeah, yeah,
pod.
yeah. We have to be careful of time when we talk. It's one of the things I love about the warden, and uh, that I have a lot of respect for him because of that. You know, I never have the opinion that someone has to agree with me. like I said, my mentor, the former deputy mayor, we would rarely ever agree on a topic, but we always had the respect. We would shake it off afterwards and go for a beer or whatever, because I knew that he had done his research and he'd come to his opinion on his own, and that's what we want, right? Ready to do battle, as they say, and then we leave it on the table.
I want to talk about the people of Ingersoll for a few minutes, if you don't
Yeah.
mind. And one of the roles that you as mayor and council has to do is engage the general public. Do you get a sense that people understand? And I have to clarify this line of questioning. Do you get a sense that people understand the role the Council of Ingersoll has to do with the Oxford County has to do with what the province has to do and their responsibility and the federal government? Because I would hazard a guess, and I know the answer already because I was in Ingersoll, as I said before our interview started, and I asked this question to a few of your residents: what are the issues of Ingersoll? Many people were talking to me about provincial and federal jurisdictional issues. So, do you get a sense as mayor, as someone who's on the ground 24/7, 7 days a week, that people understand the issues and challenges that Ingersoll is going through?
No, no, and that's you know what that's been the it is the biggest challenge that people can make a lot of money if they could figure this one out of that
I'm
communication.
trying to.
Yeah, it's you know, and I guess the question is, should they? To me, it's always we always try to do a lot of consultation on items and get people's feedback because that's important. But it has to be in context of having the knowledge to be able to form a competent opinion. And so I can tell you, it's hard enough at my level in my role with the time that I'm able. I do this full time, so I'm able to devote a lot to it. Uh, and it changes every day. And there's a lot of nuances like we talked about. And so asking the average citizen what does what and how it happens is kind of a loaded question because are they supposed to know every nuance and how it happens? I think they elect us to do that job, and that the people who are elected, need to know, and certainly be able to explain that to people when they have questions, and try to get that out as much as possible. But at the end of the day, whether your garbage gets picked up by Ingersoll, Oxford County, the province, or the federal government, someone has to do it. It has to get done. We know it's our responsibility at the County of Oxford to do it, and so we need to do that as efficiently as possible. Um, Now, when it comes to how they would like that done, then we should get feedback from the residents on their day-to-day interactions with that. But it's a hard one, and I don't think um, you know, we have a complicated government system here in Canada, to say the least. And so and certainly Oxford County is complicated because it's unique because it's not a county, it's a region. So we have our own challenges that we have to face.
I get the premise of what you're trying to say about should people actually understand what the roles and responsibilities of each level of government are responsible for, which is completely understandable. But the flip side, and I'm going to play a little bit devil's advocate with you here for a second, Brian, is you can't solve provincial issues, though. They may come to you with provincial issues, but are you forced then to say, that's your MPP's issue? Go talk to your MPP. That's your MP's issue. Go talk to them because they've come to talk to you for a reason, understandable. But at the end of the day, you're just a resident at the end of the day on provincial issues.
Absolutely. And so that's you know, if I can give one tip to anybody who's thinking about getting into this, uh, don't try to be the hero and solve everything. You can't do it. Even at municipal levels, be a good delegator. When I get a resident call up, even if it's for a municipal issue, the first thing I do is put them in touch with the right staff member. I've never had anybody fight me on that. They want an answer, and so I want to be able to give them to the right person. And so when it comes to those other issues that are provincial and federal level, the exact same thing. I want to make sure they get in the right uh, uh, sphere's jurisdiction and the person that can give them the correct answer. I don't speak for the province. I don't speak for the federal government. And it's not trying to come from a perspective of I just want to slough this off because I don't want to deal with it. I love when people talk to me about any issue because they can't get away from me on it. But it's more of just getting that person in the right to get the answer to the question that they need. And certainly they seem to always appreciate that. Again, I don't think they want to know they don't want to get in the nitty-gritty. They just want to get an answer to the problem. And I think they can understand after basic conversation that I may not be the person to be able to do that.
You seem to live, work, and breathe municipal governance. You seem to enjoy this. But there's days you probably just want to be Brian. But when you step out of that house every single day, you have to be who you are right now on this show. And that is person who's engaged, person who is empathetic to what people are going through, and you want to hear from them. How do you balance those two opposing Bryans? Because the mayor and just Brian are probably two different people. And there's days you probably just want to be Brian when you go to the grocery store and not get stopped because you have other family matters that you have to deal with, or because you've signed up. Are you okay with those two entities becoming one entity?
My wife would say that they are one entity. And you know what? I have the unique position where I can do this full time. My wife and I, we don't have kids, so we don't have those responsibilities. We're lucky enough. I live right across the road from work. I live in right downtown Ingersoll, so it's literally if I drive, it takes longer than walking. And so I don't put a separation in it. The municipal act doesn't put a separation in it. If you're going to sign up to be the head of council or a mayor or a councilor, you are 24/7 a mayor and a council. And I love it. I love this is an opportunity that given my background, I probably shouldn't have, but I will say that it's 100% something I want to take full advantage of. And if anybody wants to talk to me about it, they're probably going to regret that decision afterwards, after 20 minutes of talking to me, and they're probably trying to do something else. So,
Do you get a sense that people do want to actually discuss municipal politics with you? Because there's an apathy when it comes to municipal politics. We talk about the jurisdictional roles, but I would say municipal government is probably the most apathetic level of government that we have in Canada. People are tuned out. You hard pressed to find people who actually show up to council meetings anymore, like yourself back in 2010, let alone people who actually understand what's going on an actual council agenda. Do you get a sense that people in Ingersoll actually do want to talk to you about what's going on, whether it be a development or taxes being raised or what X, Y, or Z?
well, I think it comes with time, right? Like, if you're open to having conversations with anybody about it, they feel, I'm getting that sense now. It's been over 2 years now. At the beginning, there's that first year, everybody thinks it's the first day in the job. But over time, the more you talk to people, the more they feel comfortable coming up to you and having those conversations. And even if it's just to get advice to who to talk to or something like
Yeah.
that. So it's a process. And I think it's harder day to day. Everybody's so busy. Everybody's got a lot going on. They're going here, there. They're going to the grocery store. They're not going for fun. They're trying to get their stuff and get out like everybody else. But you know, if you're open and willing to talk about it, and hopefully they can see the passion, they once they've talked to you. I've had some really cynical people talk to me, and at the end now they're not, right. They're willing to come up and ask that question because they know that I'm going to try to give them the best answer I can, or get them in touch with the people who can give them the best answer. So it's a process of breaking down those walls, having that face-to-face conversation, or even like we're doing the video, just that person to person, and people realize you are a person, you're not just a position, and hopefully that works out over time. And it seems to be. We're still a small community here. Um, know most of the people that live in town, and hopefully we'll know 90, even more of them as time goes by. Uh, that's the great thing, and it's harder in bigger municipalities, but being able to that's the great thing about this level of government. You can just yeah, that's the mayor over there, and you can go up and talk to him. And I find that the weirdest thing in the world because I'm just Brian. I'm just a nerd who gets to do gets his passion every day. But there is that thing about the position of the mayor, and I hear parents and crowds going, "Oh, it's the mayor," to their kids and stuff like that. And it's kind of neat, but it's a weird one for sure.
How often do you tell your wife, well, you're serving the mayor dinner right now, or the mayor is serving you dinner right now? Does she humble you quite often?
Oh, there's no mayor in our household. My wife is a fantastic lady. She's 5 feet tall. She might as well be 20. She I knew she was a special person when I was dating her, and I was just starting the renovation on my building, and my ego got out of check with her, and I said, a lot of people can do this. They don't have the vision. And she looked me square in the eyes. She said, "Oh, you have vision, do you?" And I knew right there. It's like, oh, here we. She called me out, and I love it every minute that she does. So,
Oh,
yeah, there's
that's
no mayor in
awesome.
our household.
I want to turn to Ingersoll as a whole now. And before I do that, I want to preface this line of questioning, as I always do on the show, with the following. This is a conversation between the mayor and myself. This is not a motion of council, not a direction of council. This is just the mayor's opinion. As head of council, he can speak for the community, but he is still one vote on that council unless he has strong mayor powers. And last time I checked, I don't think he has strong mayor powers yet, but you
Don't
never
want
know.
them.
By the time this airs, if he might have them, but he just says he doesn't want them. So, with that being said, Mayor, in your opinion, what do you believe is the biggest challenge facing Ingersoll today, as of recording this in January 2025?
Well, certainly, like everything, it's growth, and how do we accommodate that? We're seeing the things that are happening in our community that are associated with growth, things that we haven't had to deal with quite the same level. Homelessness is an issue with that, affordability. We're certainly Ingersoll is expanding drastically. We've had a boundary adjustment. We've had secondary plans go through. We know there's going to be growth. How do we control that and certainly provide those services to our residents that are needed and keep things affordable? We've had a lot of push from the GTA area out, which is driving housing prices up. So, you have the affordability issue mixed in with growth, but it all comes back to growth.
Okay, so that's a big umbrella that you talked about.
It is.
How does Ingersoll, with it being a two-tiered level municipality with Oxford County above it and Ingersoll, work to address the growth issue, knowing that you're only one piece of the puzzle that has to work together to solve this growth issue?
So, 100% correct. So, in Ingersoll, what we would like to do is collaborate and strategize. So, those are our two strong points that we do. We know that Oxford County's motto is growing stronger together, and so we recognize the roles that the jurisdiction that Oxford County plays, and so we make sure we have strong ties to them and have that communication going, so we can through the planning department. They were great on our getting through the secondary plan and the boundary adjustment. We need those. We need those collaborative efforts. School board, we make sure that we collaborate with our school board to make sure that we know what they're doing and they know what we're doing, and then strategize. We do everything with strategy here at the town of Ingersoll. It starts with the strategic plan, and our great staff go out and create strategies based off all those to try to address those issues because you cannot act competently without knowing the consequences. And so you have to first understand the whole situation. We certainly, one of the things we're doing is a health strategy. Obviously, the province takes care of health, but municipalities do play a role. And how do we support that system? So we have a health strategy on the go right now where we're talking to our hospitals, healthcare providers, and getting a whole sense of who provides what within the community and how that works. So when we do make investments, we can make meaningful investments. We're not just throwing money, if we're not spending a dollar when we need to spend 10, or we're not spending it in the wrong direction. And that goes across the board to make sure that we're making those investments where needed and we're not wasting money and we're going to have the impact that we want to have.
Do you think you are? Do you think you are
Yes.
having the impact?
We are, and that's because of the process that was used. It's the strategic plan process. Our strategic plan is not a fluffy document. It was passed by the previous council, reaffirmed by this council. It has clear goals that staff can achieve, and that are reported on regularly, and it's been extremely successful. It's an important thing that there's good collaboration and communication between staff and council, and as well as our other partner organization about what we're trying to achieve, so they can see where they can fit into that. And when you have those clear type goals that are attainable and you can check a box off to say we did this or we're in the process and how are we going to do this, it means meaningful results. And we're seeing that. I'll give the example of we call it a Merc, but it's an arena facility. Uh, our current facility is built in 52, so it's over 70 years old. It was supposed to be replaced in 1997, but there was a pool built in 1995 that was completely contentious, and so no one wanted to touch that one afterwards. And so here we are, but the shovels will be going in the ground this year to start servicing it and get that in the structure going up in 2026. And that became through identified in the strategic plan and then staff, our amazing staff, went to work. And how do we make that happen with a workable budget, and then bringing in experts to make sure we hit those targets. But if you're just going to say we want to build a new arena next year without any sort of planning, you're probably not going to reach that goal. But we set the broad direction, and then they take it from there.
But how do you balance the two opposing factions? Because I agree, a strategic plan is probably one of the most priority number one of
Mm.
any municipal council once they get elected. You're reviewing it, seeing what the steps are forward, and changing it to what they want because every council is going to have their own opinion on it. But if you go talk to your community, I would hard pressed to say that they understand what's on that strategic plan. And they will have their own unique local issues that they want addressed. So how do you balance that strategic plan of the vision of the future of the Ingersoll with what the people want? Because you only have a limited supply of
Yep.
money, and sometimes those two opposing factions do not mesh.
So that, see, I see it as the other way. This is the way that we do control it, is with our strategic documents, because every one of those strategic plans, whether it's the actual strategic plan or a recreational master plan or the health strategy, will have that input from the community. And we're working on consensus. I myself I try never work off individual items. I want to see trends to work on, because that's where it's not one person, it's the community wants to go there. And so uh, that's the way that I think that Ingersoll works as well, and it works best because you have that input at the planning process, and then we can say this is what the community wanted to have happen. We're going to work on this, and everybody we can remind people. We can keep bringing people back and saying, no, we're working on this right now because that's what the community said. We have the data to say that, and I think people appreciate that, because there's sometimes in politics and in different levels of government, there's forks in the road, and well, we went down this one. Well, we weren't planning to do that. And so every time we can bring that back and say why we're doing something, and that we're working on the will of the majority of the people, that's the way we want to go. And that's what those documents do. And there's always going to be those issues that come up that are not in line, that have to be dealt with. But when you do the work to get the information what's wanted beforehand, it makes then executing that a lot easier.
Is that hard? 2025, of course, is going to be like 2024 on this show. And I'm going to quote one of my favorite movies, and that's Wrath of Khan, Star Trek. And I'm going to quote Spock here: "The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one, or the many, the one."
Yeah.
How do you do that? Because when I pay my taxes, and I'm not trying to be challenging, I'm just trying
Oh
to get
yeah.
an honest devil's advocate answer, is when someone pays their taxes, they want to feel like their money is being spent on them as well. And sometimes their one issue is the most important issue for them. And that is their issue that they will die on, whether it be their pothole. But when you look at the trends, that pothole is not important compared to rehabilitating that entire main section of hypothetically second half. And I'm just throwing out a number there in a street road. How do you balance those two opposing factions? Because some people just want to feel like they're being heard and their money is being spent on them.
Yeah, and so those are the one of the things that are challenges with society, and so a lot of the times those are we all have to give up something to get something
Yeah,
for the greater good. And so what I like to be able to do is we work on policy. We're not working on favoritism to anybody.
yeah.
And so you can say to them, here's the policies that we're following. This is the reasons and the strategies that we're following to do that, and these are the reasons why. You're not, you're not being we're not special prioritizing anybody else over this, and so we wouldn't be the same for you. It wouldn't be fair, and certainly those individual views come up to make the collective, but really speak to them and say this is why it's important to have that input process when we offer it and to participate in that to make sure that when we're planning these items, everybody's views are taken and we can see where those trends are going. Certainly, I agree with someone that on a general note that our streets shouldn't have potholes. Uh, we live in Canada. Like you say, there's budgets and stuff like that that have to take into consideration. But generally, those items can be taken care of on a general sense, and you can show them the policy side of it. It's not always going to make everybody happy. Some people are just about them, and that's something that's going to have to be always dealt with.
How important is it for you, talking about people not being happy? How important is it for you to talk to everyone, even the ones who do disagree with you? Because you're there to represent everyone, even the ones who vehemently oppose you. How important is it for you to talk to everyone, even the ones that may sometimes bend your ear a little bit more than the others?
Oh, I love that more than anything. The great thing about Canada is we can all have an opinion, and certainly I don't think the role of the mayor would be serving everybody if you weren't willing to listen to all.
Yeah.
It certainly it's not coming from a point of not wanting to listen. It's just trying to how do we get that message out and fairly spend the people's taxpayers' money in the best way possible. And I'll be honest, 99% of the people who contact the town, I think they can take into consideration those items and go, okay, well, it's not personally against me or for me. That's the biggest thing. People, we're all humans. When something happens to us, we think it's just to us. And it's not. It's usually something that's just it's random, it's life that's happening, and it's certainly a condition. And that's why we look for trends here and strategize to try to get that broader best use of money and try to have the biggest impact possible.
So I want to flip the original line of questioning about the challenges that Ingersoll faces,
Yeah.
and I want to talk about the accomplishments. What are the things that you are proud of when it comes to Ingersoll that you look at and say, you know what, we have our challenges. Growth is a big
Yeah.
challenge for us, but we have this going for us. What's that thing for you?
I hope you have a long time.
That's the
No,
great thing about my show. My show, I can take as much time as I want.
here's the great thing about Ingersoll, and it's one of the highlights of my time in office. Really, kind of realizing this. Ingersoll people are super hardworking, ingenious people. We are an industry town, a proud one, and we've been building stuff that's sending out over the world for since we started as a town. We were the cheese capital. We have one of 10 auto assembly plants. We had the first battery assembly EV vehicle assembly plants in Canada. And every day more people come here to work than live in Ingersoll. And so we have this great farming background that makes people tend to make people just very hard workers, and it's what people are looking for. And Ingersoll's just a hardworking, great community. It's something that's be really proud of. I'll be honest, a decade or about ago, everybody kind of wanted to shy away from that. To me, I think it's one of our biggest strengths is that we have people here that can build anything in the world. They can figure it out, and our products serve the whole world. And we're right in the sweet spot of being able to do that with all the infrastructure around us, and it's going to keep us going for a long time to come.
Do you have hopes for the future of Ingersoll? Because you talk about the past, but we always forget to talk about the future a little bit, unless you're on a municipal council like you are. Do you have hope that the growth and the challenges that you face will be outweighed by the accomplishments that you currently have?
I think the future is just going to get better and better. Ingersoll was stagnant for a lot of years when Cami manufacturing came in the 80s. That was a bright spot. We have the opportunity now in Ingersoll and in Oxford County area uh, to be. There's no reason why we can't be the most prosperous region in all of Ontario and for that matter Canada. We have this great thing called the 401 going right by us. We have rail networks, and to be honest, those good paying industry jobs create a quality of life that are second to none, and those are the good middle paying jobs that keep families going. And certainly we've maybe I'll dive into a little bit. We created a boundary adjustment in 2021 with our neighbors to Southwest Oxford, and that was a real true partnership. They actually received 24% of the municipal growth as well, and so it makes them prosperous as well, which helps us as well. And then we created the secondary plan, so we'll have way more. We have 600 acres of industrial land that's coming online. And then we have a bunch more housing as well that's going to be coming online as well. And we have to do that. We have to look at things holistically to be able to make the whole package. And whether it's a slowdown in the economy or it's going to be, even worse, this area is going to keep prospering because of the items that are being placed in now, and just because of, the right place, the right time. Um, when you look at the logistics that companies from all over the world look for, you're not going to be able to find better ones than Ingersoll and Oxford County.
So
It's just going to be we're going to see growth here in the right type in the right type of growth.
when I was in Ingersoll last summer, I got a sense that people enjoyed that small town feeling that Ingersoll is well known for, because you go downtown Ingersoll in the heart of the downtown core, and you get a sense that people enjoy that small town feeling where everyone knows each other. But when you're talking about growth, is there a balancing act that you have to do to ensure that you keep that small town charm with that potential new growth that's going to bring more expansion, more economic development, more large city, and I say this respectively to large cities, issues?
Well, yeah, it's all done. It's how it's done. And if you
Yeah.
just let growth happen that's unfettered and unplanned, then you're not going to get probably what you want. But going through these processes and really looking at, okay, how do we want this to happen? None of it's by mistake. It's all by design. And really putting thought into what do we want Ingersoll to look like. We want Ingersoll to be a prosperous development town because that's where our key metrics say we're going to be successful at. Niagara Falls is not going to turn off the falls. That would be a bad idea, being where they are, and they have a great tourism attraction. They'd be uh, it'd probably be a bad decision to turn away from tourism for Niagara
It,
Falls.
it,
I
it
mean,
happened once before.
it
It could
did.
happen again.
So it's one of those things where it would be bad for Ingersoll to turn away from the things that make it successful, like industry. Now, that doesn't say we can't have other things. That industry is just going to make sure those other things can happen to make Ingersoll a great place to be.
So one of the things that I like to talk about on this show, and it's a big economic driver in Oxford County because I've had the pleasure to talk to Oxford tourism, and that is tourism, tourism, tourism.
Yes.
What are some of the hidden gems? We know about the cheese and the farming, but what are the hidden gems of Ingersoll that you want people to come and see this year in 2025?
Absolutely. So one of them that we always take for granted in Ingersoll is trains because most residents in Ingersoll are going to be like, "Oh, that train's coming through again." But recently, our director of community services partnered with it's called livetrains.ca or .com, and it's an American firm, and they specialize in rail fans, which are people who just love seeing trains. And so we were able to have the Canada's first rail camera that focuses on the CN tracks, as well as our OSR, which is a little bit historical rail line. And I can tell you from seeing the comments on there, people are ecstatic. These people are dedicated individuals who are just ecstatic to come to Ingersoll and see something different, and a lot of them are planning trips. So that's something that's new to tourism for us, but it's a way to open up something that's just happening here and allow others to enjoy it. Another one that's happening is cycling is a huge one. We have a very active cycling committee in town that have done great things, and there's a group called Ontario by Bike who are have many thousands of members. They've now come to Ingersoll and Oxford County twice to do tourism events. We make sure we bring a bus load down from the hotel down to the downtown core to be able to enjoy that. But we forget how beautiful our area is, and others experience it differently than we do on a day-to-day basis. And so, having this people come to Oxford County and Ingersoll to experience it is, they're each going to get their individual things out of it. But we do have a lot to offer. The other thing is our downtown. We're doing a downtown enhancement plan right now. And so, where do we strategically put those investments to make it even better for investment and for people to enjoy it? We forget that we have a very nice historic small downtown, and so it's not big city, it's not country, it's something that's unique, and we can offer that to the world.
I'm going to ask a little bit of a Sophie's Choice here question, but where's the mayor's favorite spot in the community after a long day of council meetings, after a long day of Oxford County council meetings? Where do you go in the county or the community to just decompress and let it go? And I'm going to say this, you can't say your house.
Well, usually what I'll do is I just like to go for a walk. Ingersoll is just full of history. It's full of different things to see, and certainly the way my brain works, I can see a lot of things. So we got great trail system here. We've got a great, there's so much history in each building, and just to see what's going on, and really it gets, I could always lose a few pounds. So being able to go just for a walk and just clear the head and think, and that's not one place, but all of Ingersoll really is. There's just something unique everywhere. So yeah.
A true mayor can't decide fully, but will say the entire community. Speaking of the community, and it's my final question because I'm cautious of time and I know you're a busy mayor, but I've got to ask, in your opinion, what makes the town of Ingersoll such a unique place to live, to work, and to raise a family?
It has a good balance of everything. You can I'm going to digress here a little bit. When I was in high school, everybody could not wait to get out of town. And I was one of the lucky ones that didn't leave. I left for 2 weeks. I moved to BC and I bought a car and I went right back because I'm like, no, I know where I need to be. You can have your family, you can have your friends here, you can work here. You can buy your groceries here. You can get everything you need in Ingersoll. Now, if you need something else, there's Woodstock 8 minutes away. You got London, you have the big city 20 minutes away. You have Toronto an hour away, but you don't have traffic here. You may have to wait for a train. It is just the quality of life that can be offered here. And the people trying to move back now that are my age because they have families and the quality of life that they enjoyed when they were growing up is still available. So that's, I can't, it's something amazing when you can walk out your front door. There's not a traffic jam. Crime is low. It's the things that are being complained about when we get complaints. It's like, yeah, we're pretty lucky. Um, and so it's a great place to live. It grabs like again a great quality of life, and I couldn't promote it more. Although we'll keep it our secret.
That's what I like to hear. Mayor Brian, I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. 45 minutes goes by in a blink of an eye,
It
and
does.
it seems like we have just scratched the surface. So when I'm back in Ingersoll later on this summer, let's have a coffee and we'll go on a trail and I can lose a few pounds with you while we walk, okay?
Perfect. Absolutely. Thank you so much. This is my first podcast I've been on, so I'm pretty excited. So
There you go. And it's the week one of our show. So you're wrapping up our first week back of 2025. So thank you so much for doing this.
thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Cross Border Interviews. Now, we hope you've enjoyed today's conversation and gained some valuable insights from our guest. To stay in the loop with all of our latest episodes, don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite platform and follow us on social media. For even more content and learn more about today's stories and the people we have featured on this show, visit us online at crossborderinterviews.ca. Your support means the world to us, so share this episode with your friends and community and help us keep the conversation going. So until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll be back next week on Cross Border Interviews. Till then, everyone.